Not too long ago, I had somebody ask me a question in the comments of my video. What are your thoughts on writing books ahead before publishing any? Now, if someone had asked me that question a year ago, hot off the fatigue of getting the Wizard Stone out the door, I probably would have said something along these lines. If I could do it all over again, I'd write 3 books before publishing any. Then, as I write another book, I'd release one of those previously written books, leaving me with a comfortable cache of 2 books as a buffer. I would have said something like that because, well, I did say something along those lines. Stack up 3 books, then release 1 a year, and as you release a book, you write a new one to replace it. It gives you a nice, comfortable margin of 2 books, and if the book you're writing runs into problems, well, you have that buffer. Sounds like a great plan, right? Well, that plan runs into several problems. The first being that it only benefits from hindsight. The second, fan service. I mean, as a plan, it's not a bad one. But the one hitch is the assumption that you'll write books people want to read. As I've said on several occasions, I had no idea The Revenant and the Tomb would be embraced by readers. In fact, I thought that as a story, it was just kind of so-so. I figured that the Wizard Stone had a lot more gravitas and depth. Well, the reverse is actually true. My wife looked at me like I had snakes coming out my ears when I said I was going to just give away The Revenant and the Tomb as a promotion. She felt that I should sell it and give away the Wizard Stone instead. Maybe she was right. While I had published stuff before, I never published fiction, never mind fantasy fiction. I had no idea whether my wife's instincts were correct. It was all actually a big gamble, and one that, I guess, paid off. While my sales numbers were modest, the book does not fail to sell, and the ratings it received are better than that of the Wizard Stone. Had I known this would have been the case, I would have backfilled with a few books. In fact, I do have a few books that are done and waiting for release. They just need a bunch of reworking. Which brings me to my next dilemma. It wasn't long before I had people asking me on social media about when the follow-up to The Revenant and the Tomb would be out, which took me totally by surprise. I actually discussed this in the foreword of the first book of The Revenant and the Cult. The plan after publishing The Revenant and the Tomb was to finish and release The Wizard Stone. Then maybe publish a short series about a character named Marith before moving into my books about a character named Frankie. The book with Hal Cedric was just supposed to be a simple, fun story that provided a brief backstory of a character in one of the Frankie books, and that was it. After that book, Hal Cedric would be done. Then, after requests came from fans, a word that still seems surreal to me, I figured I better concentrate and expand on the Hal Cedric character's adventures. Now I have a bunch of stories in my head that weren't there before and I never intended to write initially. The result of all this, my plan was shot all full of holes. Could I have published some of those bank books? Maybe. I would do so at the risk of people being dissatisfied because they wanted more Hal Cedric instead. But getting back to the original question, is it a good idea to have a bunch of books already written before you publish your first book? In an ideal world, sure. In the real world, where circumstances shift like the sands of the Sahara, well, maybe not. Do I like being behind the 8 ball and trying to write and produce a book every year? Nope. In fact, it sort of sucks. That being said, I had an initial vision for my world that my characters occupy and the various threads that run through the Legendarium. That vision has been significantly altered with each story I release. Honestly, I don't think that this is a bad thing. That hip-shot inspiration takes my stories in new directions that make the overall experience somewhat unique. and not having material already completed makes the task of revising any existing material much easier, as there's nothing to revise. But as I said in another video, a constant release schedule is now the hamster wheel that I'm on, and I guess I'll just have to keep running to keep that wheel spinning. I'm pretty safe in saying that initially, with each book an author releases, they grow. Their writing matures, their ability to edit on the fly becomes stronger, and they hone their skills. And I would assume that with each book published, reworking old material tends to get more tedious and time-consuming. So my stance has changed since last year, and who knows, maybe it'll change again next year. I sort of doubt it, though.